You're not needed anymore, so please go." Robert's words cut through the air, cold and dismissive. I stared at him, disbelief washing over me. "Why would you say that, after everything we've been through? This house is enough. I worked tirelessly for 15 years to save up and buy this place. I chose a large condo so we could all live together, especially since my daughter wanted to move in. But then, my husband had to intervene." "Why are you surprised?" "Your job year is done. Thanks for everything up to now," he said, his voice emotionless. "Are you serious?" I asked, my heart pounding as I fought to stay calm, my emotions a tangled mess. "Of course. If you don't want to leave, we can get a divorce. Do it quickly," he shot back, his words final, as if they meant nothing. That was it. Something inside me snapped. My husband had been unemployed for months, and he had no idea what a divorce would mean for both of us. I realized then that he was a disappointment. It was time to leave, and I wouldn't waste another second. "Understood," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos inside me. "If that's how it is, I'll leave. Right now." "Okay," he said with a cruel smile. "I'd be so happy not to see your face again." They both smirked at me with expressions of disgust, the ugliest smiles I had ever seen. There was nothing left for me here. No reason to hold back against a husband and mother-in-law like this. I wanted them to understand the consequences of their actions, to feel the weight of what they were about to lose. So, without hesitation, I sold the high-rise condo. My name is Sandra, and I turned 39 this year. I've been married to Robert for 4 years. We both worked at the same company, but back then, we weren't close. 4 years ago, everything changed. "Huh? Sandra? Robert, is that you? Long time no see? What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice full of surprise. "Actually, I quit my job today," I replied, trying to hold back a smile. "What? Why?" he asked, his eyebrows raised in surprise. "I quit because it was finally time to chase a dream I've always had. You know I've been drawing cartoons for a while, right? Well, I finally made my debut." "Seriously? That's amazing. Show me sometime," he said, his eyes lighting up with genuine admiration. At the time, I didn't feel anything more for him than a friendly appreciation for his praise, but hearing him acknowledge my dreams felt good. Later, I learned that after quitting his job, Robert had started his own business. The last time we had seen each other, we were in our 20s, and things were going well for me at work. But now, it seemed like things had taken a different turn for both of us. Little did I know, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one that would change everything. "If you're okay with it, why don't we date?" "That's sudden, isn't it? I think we're really compatible." Robert's confession surprised me, but it didn't feel bad. I was about to turn 35 and thinking about marriage too, but I'm at the age where I want to get married. "Then let's get married." "What, really?" I was overwhelmed by how quickly things were moving. "Is that a no?" "Ah, thank you, yes." Before I knew it, I had accepted his proposal. I went ahead with it on impulse, and though I was full of anxieties, they proved to be unfounded. "You've worked hard here, want some coffee?" "Thanks. Another all-nighter?" "Yeah, the deadline is close, don't push yourself too hard." Both my marriage and job were going well. In fact, things were so good that I wondered if it was okay for them to be this perfect. Robert understood my work, and even took care of household chores when I was busy. There was just one thing that bothered me. "By the way, how's work lately?" "Huh? Oh, it's fine. I've had some free time recently." "Why? You've been coming home early and doing all the housework." "I'm just doing it because I like to. Don't worry about it, okay?" We used to talk about work a lot, but for the last few weeks he hadn't mentioned anything about his job. I believed him when he said everything was okay and didn't ask more questions. Looking back, that might have been a mistake. Before I knew it, nearly 4 years had passed. My job was going well, and there was even talk of turning my work into comics and animations. Then I started wanting to have our own home. I've been thinking about getting our own place. What do you think? A house? That sounds great. Oh, but it's something Mom. Robert looked down with a regretful expression. I prepared myself, sensing something unpleasant was coming. I know this is sudden, but is there any way my mom could live with us? What? Your mother? She's alone now, and I'm a bit worried about her. Since losing my father-in-law 2 years ago, my mother-in-law seemed to have lost her spirit. It felt like there was a big hole in her heart. I was indeed worried about leaving her alone from now on. Okay, but it will take time to build a house. Maybe a condo would be better. Thank you. Just agreeing to live with her is enough for me. You can decide the rest. Then that's what we'll do. So in between work, I visited various condos. Since we were going to live together, I wanted something spacious and comfortable. I had savings from 15 years of frugal living. A month after starting the search for a condo, I signed the contract. Signed the contract today. Really? What kind is it? This one. I showed my husband the brochure for the condo I had chosen. I was confident he would be pleased. Is this a high-rise luxury condo? Yes, it is. I thought we might as well. He probably didn't expect me to choose a high-rise, although, surprised, his eyes sparkled like a child who had just received a new toy. Mom will definitely be happy with this. I hope so. With this, a new life, including my mother-in-law, was about to begin, filled with a little anxiety and great anticipation. However, I would soon realize that it was a mistake. As soon as we started living with her, Sandra, thanks for letting me stay here. This place is amazing. Oh, it's no big deal. I just did what anyone would do, I replied, trying to brush it off. For a while, things seemed fine. But then, 3 months later, my mother-in-law's behavior changed drastically. One afternoon, she asked me, "Sorry, could you clean my room?" My back hurts. "I'm sorry, Mom, I have to work now," I answered, trying to explain. Then, in a tone I hadn't heard before, she said something completely unexpected. "Work? You just stay in your room all day while Robert does all the housework, don't you? Robert and I decided that together. No more excuses, just do it now, please." I was taken aback by her sudden shift in attitude. I didn't understand why she was acting so differently, but at that moment I knew that refusing her request would only cause more trouble. So I did as she asked and cleaned her room thoroughly. "I'll be in the living room. Let me know when you're done," she said, without offering to help. She sat back in comfort while I worked. I couldn't help but feel frustrated. "Done at last," I said, trying to contain my growing irritation. "Can't you clean a bit faster?" she snapped. "I'm sorry," I muttered, keeping my voice calm. "Well, okay then. Please make sure to do it regularly from now on," she added as she got up to leave. She didn't even thank me, just walked back to her room. I was furious at her demanding attitude, but I bit my tongue, fearing more complaints if I resisted. That night I told my husband about it. "My mom? Why would she do that?" Robert asked, genuinely confused. "I'll talk to her." "Really?" "I find it hard to talk back to her," I admitted, feeling defeated. "Don't worry, I'll handle it," he reassured me, and I felt a small sense of relief. True to his word, the next day, my mother-in-law's attitude softened. She wasn't as harsh with me anymore, and I thought I could finally focus on my work again. But just when I thought things were settling down, something unexpected happened. A week later, I returned home after a meeting. "I'm back," I called out as I entered the house. I noticed unfamiliar shoes by the door, which caught my attention. As I approached the living room, I overheard voices. "Hey, where's Sandra today?" Robert's sister, Christina, asked. "Oh, she's at a meeting. It's amazing, though. She's become a successful cartoon artist at her age." "Yeah, it's impressive," Robert replied. "Why do you sound so proud?" Christina teased him. I was about to enter the room when I heard more of their conversation. By the way, Mom, you've been quieter lately, Christina said. Oh yes, it's more amusing to knock her down when she feels secure, isn't it? My mother-in-law responded, her voice laced with malice. And Robert, you agree, right? I stood frozen, my heart sinking. The conversation hit me like a punch to the gut. My mother-in-law's true feelings were clearer than ever. She had been playing a game all along, manipulating Robert and using me as a target for her frustrations. I realized I had been wrong to think things were improving. It was clear now. Nothing would change until I took control of my own life. Well, if she can't work anymore, it would be a problem, right? Say, Sandra is the one bringing in money for us after all. All right. I stood there stunned, not only by what was said, but by the realization that my husband and mother-in-law were plotting something together. From then on, life became unbearable. Did you discuss that thing about work? I didn't think it needed to be brought up. You always do this. What? What are you talking about? Christina asked innocently, clearly unaware of the conversation subject. I was also clueless and eager to hear Robert's explanation. Well, it couldn't be helped. Actually, the company I was running went bankrupt shortly after we got married. What? You never mentioned that. That's terrible, Christina exclaimed. I've been through a lot, but I was lucky. I never expected that when I suggested living with Mom, Sandra would opt for such an upscale condo. When Robert admitted this to me, instead of surprise, I felt a surge of anger because I realized I had been deceived. Knowing he had hidden this and acted normal made me feel sick to my stomach. At that moment, I regretted everything deeply. If only I hadn't ignored the signs of change in my husband. But I couldn't dwell on regrets forever, and I started considering when to leave. Maybe it's time, Robert remarked. Time for what? Christina asked. Well, that's for another time, Robert replied casually. Unable to listen any longer, I burst through the door. They were shocked, clearly not expecting me to return. What's going on? I demanded, seeing my husband and mother-in-law flustered. I almost laughed, but held it back. You startled me. If you were back, you should have said something, Robert stammered. I did say I'm home, but maybe you were too caught up in your conversation, I retorted. Well, never mind. Sandra, come sit here. Let's have some coffee together. Yes, thank you, I replied politely, then engaged in meaningless conversation. It felt like it had been ages since I'd endured such dullness. After about an hour, Christina announced she was leaving. I should head home now. You could stay a bit longer. I'd like to, but I have plans after this. Well, if that's the case, I understand. Let me walk you about part of the way. Christina probably sensed my feelings towards Robert and his mother. Maybe that's why she wanted to get away from the situation. As Christina was leaving, I stopped her. Thanks for coming today. Did you have a good time? Yes, Christina replied nervously, as if hearing criticism. Seeing her uneasy expression, I decided it was best to give her a heads up. I wanted to tell you something, Christina. You shouldn't trust them too much. What do you mean? About what we talked about earlier? Christina's expression turned pale as she seemed to grasp that my husband and mother-in-law were the ones I was warning her about. I understand. See you around. From then on, as far as I know, Christina never visited us again. My mind was consumed with thoughts of how to exact revenge on them. One day, as part of my routine, I checked the mailbox and found a letter addressed to Robert. The moment I saw it, I couldn't help but laugh, thinking it might be useful. I'm heading to work. Have a good day. How insincere. Curious about where he was really going, I decided to follow him. I observed as he idled in a park for a while before heading to a casino. I took photos to have evidence for later use. He was unemployed and yet engaged in activities like this. Who made the awful meal? My mother-in-law's criticism had started again, likely sparked by our earlier conversation. I had been pondering ways to retaliate against her. I made it since Robert doesn't cook and no one else could have. It had to be me. How dare you serve something like this? You didn't put poison in it, did you? Clean this up? My mother-in-law's words stung, but in a way, they were almost refreshing. Anger bubbled up inside me, but my frustration wasn't with her harsh tone. It was the entire situation. I felt utterly powerless. I couldn't come up with a solution on my own, so I decided to call my mother. I was anxious about how she would react, but getting back at my husband and mother-in-law was now my priority. "Hello, Mom. You sound upset. What's wrong?" she answered, her voice familiar and comforting. I launched into the story, telling her everything that had been happening. I expected her to be critical, to tell me I should be the bigger person, but instead, she was sympathetic. "So, that's what's been going on?" "You've been through a lot," she said softly. I could feel the weight of her empathy in her words, and tears welled up in my eyes. "But what should I do now?" I asked, the uncertainty in my voice betraying my inner turmoil. "From what you've told me, the condo is in your name, right?" she asked. "Yes, but... and it seems they both like living there. Why not just sell it?" "Sell it?" The suggestion took me by surprise. It hadn't crossed my mind. My mother's words sparked something inside me. I began to imagine the look on Robert and my mother-in-law's faces when they found out they had to leave. Losing the condo, their comfort, would change everything for them, especially with my husband unemployed. "It's actually a good idea, isn't it?" I said, my thoughts racing. "It sure is. But it's amazing how you can say that with a laugh," she chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. "Well, it's your decision, Sandra. Just know that we're here for you." "Yeah, hearing you say that gives me more strength," I replied, feeling a sense of clarity that had been missing for a long time. "Feel free to reach out anytime," my mom added before the call ended. Her words stayed with me, and I couldn't stop thinking about her advice. It felt like a turning point. One evening, after dinner and cleaning up, Robert asked if we could talk. I hesitated, sensing trouble, but sat down on the sofa where both Robert and my mother-in-law were already seated, looking oddly smug. My stomach sank. "So, what's this talk about?" I asked cautiously, my voice betraying my unease. My mother-in-law spoke first, her tone cold and final. "You're no longer needed here, so please leave." "Why would you say that, after everything we've been through?" My voice quivered with frustration as I glanced at Robert. "This house..." But she cut me off, uninterested in my feelings. "Enough. I'm going to live here with Christina and the others." "Why with Christina and the others?" I asked, remembering their conversation I overheard a few days ago. It all clicked. This was their plan all along. Robert then added, his voice matter-of-fact, "Why the surprise look? Your role here is finished. Thanks for everything up to now." "Are you serious?" I stared at him, fighting to keep my composure. My emotions were overwhelming me, and it felt like the ground beneath me was slipping away. Fine. If you want me to leave, we can get divorced. Let's get it over with." Upon hearing my words, I made my decision. Robert, being unemployed, seemed oblivious to the consequences of divorce. What a disappointment. I wanted to leave that place as soon as possible, and I had prepared for this moment. "Fine. If that's how it is, I'll leave. Leave right now." "Fine. I'd be thrilled not to see your face again." Robert sneered. They both wore the most sinister smiles I had ever seen. There was no reason to hold back anymore against such a husband and mother-in-law. I wanted to make them feel the consequences right away. Packing only the essentials, I walked out of the house. They watched me leave, but I felt no sadness or regret. "Since we're getting divorced anyway, you handle the divorce papers. I'm not worried about this condo. You can take care of it," I said calmly. Without waiting for their response, I walked away without looking back. They could say whatever they wanted. For now, I decided to return to my parents' home. I'm on my way home. So, you've made your decision? Yes. I might be a bit of a burden for a while. Your father and I are here for you. Take your time coming back. At home, my parents welcomed me with unchanged warmth. Seeing their faces, I felt a profound sense of relief. Welcome back. I'm home. It's been a while since you've been here. Take it easy today. Thank you. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in a long while. The next day, I wasted no time. I prepared the divorce papers and headed straight to the real estate agent. It was better to sell the condo than to leave it for my husband and mother-in-law who had no income and would struggle without a home. This condo is in demand. We should find a buyer quickly. That's good to hear. Please take care of it. Consider it done. A month later, the real estate agent informed me that a buyer was interested in the condo. My ex-husband and mother-in-law were still living there, and during that month I had successfully finalized the divorce. They were now strangers to me, and I eagerly anticipated meeting these two oblivious individuals. The potential buyer wants to view the property soon. Got it. Can I be there for the showing? That would be very helpful. Please join us. The day of the showing finally arrived. As I opened the front door, Robert burst out, "Hey, who let you in? Who are you people?" Apparently, he hadn't noticed me, so I stepped forward. "Long time no see, huh? Why are you here?" "Funny you should ask. After all, this condo is in my name." "What?" It seemed he hadn't understood the situation yet. "Don't you get it? It means this place isn't yours to claim." "That can't be true," he stammered. Then my mother-in-law appeared, which I thought was perfect timing. I decided to confront both of them right then and there. "Hey, what are you doing causing a scene in someone's home? Don't just barge in here. I could call the police on you." "That should be my line. You two have no right to live here." "Talking nonsense won't help you. This place belongs to us." I sighed at their stubbornness. "Could you please leave this house immediately? You're disrupting the viewing." "Viewing? Why would there be a viewing?" "Because I've put this condo up for sale. Like I said, I bought this place, so I own it." Robert seemed too furious to comprehend. "Even if what you're saying is true, what are we supposed to live? Why don't you go back to your parents' house?" "We tore down that old house." "Oh, that's unfortunate. Stop joking." Robert tried to grab me. Fortunately, I dodged quickly, and he stumbled and fell dramatically. Everyone except my mother-in-law burst into laughter at his fall. "If you don't want me to call the police for trespassing, please leave. You're in the way." I looked down at him as I spoke. When I saw his face, he looked like he was on the verge of tears, finally understanding the situation. He then knelt down and begged, but nothing he could do would change my mind. "We were wrong. Please forgive us." My mother-in-law's voice trembled with an apology. "Why should I?" "Apologizing won't change anything now." My response was sharp, devoid of any softness. "Can you just disappear from my sight? I won't ask again." With that, I turned away, signaling the end of any further discussion. Robert, dragging his mother by the hand, fled like a defeated animal. Watching them leave, something unexpected happened. A profound sense of relief washed over me. It felt like a weight had been lifted, and for the first time in months, I could breathe freely. The viewing of the condo proceeded smoothly, and the sale was finalized without any complications. I followed through with my final act of leniency, informing them both that they needed to remove any remaining belongings from the condo. This was the last favor I was offering. Not long after, I received a call from Christina, Robert's sister. "What's going on, Christina?" I asked, knowing she'd been distanced from the situation for a while. "It's about my mom and what happened," she began, sounding frustrated. "It seems they're living in a tiny one-room apartment now." I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. "See, I warned you not to trust them." "I've definitely learned that lesson from this experience," Christina said, her tone resigned. She explained that she had refused to help them which is why she wasn't involved in the viewing. From now on, it's best to keep your distance from them, I advised, knowing it was the right thing to do for her own peace of mind. Yes, Christina agreed, sounding more determined than ever to avoid any further entanglements with her mother and brother. She had learned, just as I had, that some relationships were better left behind. However, not long after that conversation, Robert reached out to me again. The call came unexpectedly, and his voice was filled with desperation. "Can you lend me some money?" "Just a little," he pleaded. I could feel the anger rising within me. "That's your own fault for gambling and accumulating debt," I retorted, my voice unwavering. "I found debt collection letters addressed to you by chance, and I also had someone follow you when you lied about having a job and went out." There was a long silence on the other end before Robert spoke again. "I'm working seriously now, but I still have debts, and it's hard to make ends meet." I shook my head, my patience wearing thin. "That's not my problem." "Oh, and could you pass a message to your mother? Tell her she got what she deserved." I hung up immediately, my decision clear. As the phone call ended, I realized they would likely face even more difficult times ahead. Their choices had led them to this point, and now they would have to bear the consequences. Sitting back, I reflected on everything that had happened. This chapter of my life, full of betrayal, disappointment, and, ultimately, liberation, could make for a compelling story. I considered turning it into a comic for my next project. The experience had given me a deeper understanding of the complexities of family dynamics, and I knew it would resonate with others. It could make for an intriguing, perhaps even cathartic story, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was finally in control of my own narrative.